Hey, what's up, guys? How's it going? So today I'm interviewing Samantha Azira, correct?
That is correct. Yes.
Uh, yeah. So I guess how's it going? If you want to introduce yourself.
I go by Samantha Azira, Azira. I am a amateur YouTuber who started a couple months ago, who loves retro games and some modern gaming.
All right, good to hear. Well, yeah, like I said before, I found your channel. I've been sort of watching ever since. Now, again, I have a few questions set up, and we could just start off simple. What was your first console?
The first console I ever played was the Nintendo Entertainment System, but that was very brief and very early on in life. I pretty much consider the Super Nintendo the first console I ever really truly enjoyed and played, more so.
I gotcha. I actually just recently picked. I just recently got a NES from a friend. Uh,
Mhm.
what consoles are you currently collecting for? Like, what games? What console are you currently getting games for?
Recently, I've been picking up a lot of Switch titles. My Switch collection has been very slow growing because I hate paying full price. I picked up a couple Dreamcast games recently. My Sega collection is pretty embarrassing, so I've been keeping an eye out for Sega recently.
Yeah, the Sega Dreamcast was my first console. I want to collect for it. It's just been very expensive
Yep,
recently.
my I just bought Skies of Arcadia from, I don't know if you know who
Oh,
Retro
jeez.
Wolf 88 is.
Yeah.
I bought it from him.
Did you, well, all right. Um, I guess any tips for anybody just getting started in retro gaming?
I'm sorry, what was that question?
I was just gonna say, do you have any tips for anybody just getting started in retro gaming?
Any like tips?
Yeah.
I would definitely say make sure that the people around you know that you're getting into retro gaming. Because if you're going to start collecting, more eyes out there gets you better deals. But I would definitely say kind of start with the basics. I mean, are we talking like just gaming or collecting?
Um, both.
Both. Okay. So yeah, I would say keeping the eyes out there and definitely start collecting for things that are not so popular quite yet. If you're going to start collecting, like the PlayStation 3 is slowly climbing, the Wii U is still pretty dirt cheap. And so maybe turn your focus into things that are probably going to climb later on versus the stuff that's just going to remain expensive. Because I feel like a lot of things have already, besides the Dreamcast and the Vita, like things have stabilized over the last couple of years.
Yeah, yeah, I'd say so. I mean, just like last year, everything just got super expensive. Like I remember, like when I first got into retro gaming, I got a PS2 and then I bought a GameCube. The
Oh
first few
yeah.
the first few games I bought was Melee and Mario Kart Double Dash. I got those games for about $40. Now it's ridiculous.
100% ridiculous. I just for kicks and giggles, I took all my GameCube games and put it into price charting just to see what it was worth, and this was probably a year into the pandemic, and it ended up being like $1,600. I did
Yeah,
not. I don't. I only own like 22 or 23 games.
yeah, that's crazy. But I do think GameCube prices have they've sort of stabilized. Like I think it's realistic for me to collect with the GameCube again.
Right.
All right, now here's a bit of a controversial one. What do you think of repros, like repro cartridges, repro boxes, stuff like that?
So I kind of like them, only in the sense that if there's certain things that are just 100% out of reach that I'm never going to pay for, I like that I'm able to get them for display in my game room. The only time I'm not okay with it is when people are trying to be shady about it and trying to pass it off as a real thing. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, like my Pikachu Game Boy SP is a recased old SP that I had from, like, I had a junked SP that was working totally fine and I recased it. It looks awesome. I love that it's in my collection. I would never ever try to present it to anybody as if it wasn't.
yeah. I mean, me personally, I'm not a big fan of repros, but I do sort of I do sort of make a exception when it comes to like repro boxes or whatever, because
Yeah,
those kind of make sense. I mean, one,
right.
one console I've been collecting for recently is the Nintendo 64. And to get games complete in boxes, it's somewhat expensive. It all depends on the game. But I figure, why pay a little bit more for old cardboard from the 90s when you could pay cheap for legit firm cardboard that you could place your games in. I mean,
yeah, I think I agree with that. Like repro boxes and maybe like cases. Games, I think that's pretty shady.
Yeah. All right. Now, I'm sorry if I'm starting off with heavy questions, but where do you think retro gaming will be in like 10 years or so?
Well, hopefully people lose interest and I can start buying games for dirt cheap again. But realistically, I think that social media and YouTube are just going to continue making it a thing that people are going to want to do and collect for. I mean, new channels like myself are popping up all the time, and so it's just making it more and more popular. So I truly think outside of another pandemic, I think the prices are just going to very, very slowly climb. The only thing that will be interesting to see is, the big fear of the disc rot and when that's going to happen. So
yeah.
I do think, though, the more retro collectors that are out there, the more expensive the games are going to be because we're all buying it and then not selling it.
Exactly. I mean, like right now, I'd say my generation is coming up. Like the consoles that I grew up on, the OG Xbox, PS2, and GameCube, like those consoles are sort of in the spotlight now, and I'm wondering what's going to happen with the 360. Well, I already know what's happening with the PS3, but with the 360 and the Wii, those are going to go up soon, and then with the Xbox, well, I'm curious what's going to happen when there's nostalgia for the Xbox One and PS4. Like it's going to be weird.
Right, and there's a lot of hardware problems. The Red Ring of Death are just slowly killing off Xbox 360s. There are games that are not backwards compatible with the Xbox One. I mean, it's going to be just interesting what hardware fails in the next 10 years that makes it hard to collect for certain consoles.
Yeah, it's going to be weird.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess a lighter question. What's some of the most rarest and exclusive items to your collection? Like what are some of your favorite items?
I have Gotcha Force for GameCube. I don't know if you know what that is.
I've heard about it, I just can't remember it right now.
Yeah. The game goes for like it's one of the I think it wasn't produced very much. It's not that it's like an amazing game, but it's really expensive.
Is it that robot game where you have to choose between like different robots and stuff?
I think so.
Yeah. I've heard.
The funny thing is my friend found it at a thrift store or Goodwill for like $3, and he's like, "Hey, should I buy a GameCube game that's for $3?" And I was like, "If it's not a sports title, pick it up right now." And then he found out what he had, and he ended up giving it to me before he left for to move to another state or something. And so that game it price charts somewhere between $400 to $500.
Wow.
I recently picked up Parasite Eve 1 and 2 for PlayStation 1. Those are getting expensive. Skies of Arcadia, that was my most recent pickup. That one's running in the neighborhood of like $150, I think. But I mean, if we're going for like not really expensive, but more just like interesting, I do have a couple of products from like the Pokemon Center in Japan because I have a friend who travels there a lot.
Yeah, sure.
I got some like cookie tins with there was a collab quite a few years ago with Pokemon and Mario, and there's these tins with like Pikachu wearing a Mario suit and stuff. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's dope.
Yeah.
I'd say a few ones from my collection is my childhood GameCube games. My dad recently just knocked on my door and he was just like, "Hey, I found your old GameCube games," and I was fucking psyched.
Oh my gosh, yeah. That would be insane.
He found a few of my old PSP games, and one of them is sealed, but unfortunately it's a sports game.
Oh.
But these games are honestly priceless to me. I would never sell my childhood games. But the only few expensive games I have is Mario Kart Double Dash, Street Fighter Alpha 3, and this is a bit embarrassing, but BMX XXX for the GameCube.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
that.
yeah. Is that the game I think it is?
Yes. So
Yes, yes, it is. Okay, yeah.
when I picked up the game, when I picked up the GameCube, I was just looking for my childhood games, and I saw BMX XXX, and I thought, that might be cool. Not knowing what it was,
Right.
and then for some reason it's worth like $40 to $50 now, which is weird.
Yeah. Yeah, I have Pokemon XD, Gale of Darkness, and Pokemon Coliseum from my childhood, and those really shot up.
Yeah. All right. I guess. All right. So I guess another retro gaming question is: do you think retro game prices will ever like go down, or will it like stabilize or whatever? I mean, we're already sort of seeing with the GameCube, but do you think Dreamcast might go down a little bit? What are your thoughts?
Well, I think I'm worried that as retro collecting becomes popular and a new generation decides that they want to do it, that it's going to make games more exclusive. And so I personally think that there are going to be select consoles that are just going to continue to rise, like the Dreamcast. I mean, because you can't buy those anywhere. You have to buy it from other collectors. Whereas with I would say, GameCube on, there were more people keeping their games and collecting for it for a longer period of time, so the availability is not as bad. So I'm worried that very particular niche consoles are just going to climb up in price, and then I think the rest of it will just stabilize. I don't think the Xbox will ever climb higher than it is now.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I still like the OG Xbox, but I'm surprised it hasn't really gone up in price. Like the only expensive OG Xbox game I know is a Stubbs a Zombie, and that's gone down a lot. That's like $60 to $70 now.
I would say Futurama on Xbox is very expensive too.
What's that? What's the game?
Futurama, based off of the TV series.
Oh yeah, I've heard of that.
That one's pretty expensive.
Yeah, eventually I want to get that game. So isn't there like a exclusive episode on that game? Like
there is, yes.
Okay, I thought so.
Yeah, you can get it on the PS2, and from my understanding, the PS2 version I think is cheaper than the Xbox.
Yeah, but eventually I want to get that game. So isn't there like a exclusive episode on that game? Like
there is, yes.
Okay, I thought so.
Yeah, you can get it on the PS2, and from my understanding, the PS2 version I think is cheaper than the Xbox.
Yeah, but
right.
I feel like it's good that retro gaming is becoming popular. It's just that there's a downside to it. Like with more people coming in, the more expensive things are going to be.
Yeah, like I sold an extra copy of Melee probably 6 to 8 months ago, or probably 6 months ago. And the person buying it was a kid. This kid could not have been older than 15. And that's when I kind of realized that, retro gaming is starting to bleed outside of our demographic.
Yeah. And I remember I was watching your Donkey Kong video, and you were just like, you're talking about, people my age just getting into retro gaming and shit. And I find that weird. Well, not necessarily weird. It's just, what do you think of people like my age, in my 20s, collecting N64 stuff and Super Nintendo stuff?
I'm surprised that anybody who has not lived through the Nintendo 64 wants to collect for the Nintendo 64. I think the console's amazing. I love the Nintendo 64. My first episode was about it. But I could see why it would be a rough console to walk into if you didn't have the nostalgia tack to it. So that one I am surprised that people do actually want to collect for who are younger. Super Nintendo, though, that console will be legendary forever. The graphics aged amazing. The games are awesome. That one I think will be collectible for any age group forever.
Yeah, no, to be honest, I walked into the N64 just purely, out of hype. Like, I remember watching Let's Plays of Super Mario 64 and all the other games. I was just thinking, wow, this console has got to be great. And
yeah.
Then I walked into it, and it's still great. I mean, obviously my expectations fell a little bit because it's a real thing. I have to deal with the joysticks and stuff like that. But still, I like the N64. I mean, shit, the N64 came out like fucking the N64 came out a year before I was born, and I have like 30 games
Yeah,
for it. But
1996.
yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, though, like when it comes to game collecting, like I said, I just got a NES. The next thing is to get a Super Nintendo, then probably a Sega Saturn, then an Atari. The most the most I would ever want to reach is like the Atari age, the 1970s stuff.
Yeah. I have 3 Ataris, and I really don't play with them all that often. There's a couple of renditions. There's the Heavy Sixer, which is the original release in Sunnyvale, California. They call it the Heavy Sixer because it weighs more than the other 6-switch Atari. There's the Vader, which is 4 switches and it's black, so on and so forth. But I mean, there's kind of only a small handful of Atari games that I play with a little bit. Like Pitfall is a good one. Hero is another one.
Yeah, I mean, I want to get into Atari just purely out of I guess historic wise. Like that's
Yeah.
like my friend he sent me his NES and I I haven't gotten the wires for it yet, but I just came to play. It's gonna be like playing history, I guess. And
Yeah.
like I know you and a bunch of other people grew up with it, but for me it's gonna be like playing history. Like this is what my parents played with and stuff like that.
Right. Yeah. I was gonna say I was born in '91, so that was Super Nintendo. It's just somehow, without realizing it, we were always a generation behind. So I ended up experiencing the NES first for a short period of time, and then Super Nintendo at an age where I was old enough to know what I was doing. So I mean, I kind of get the whole history thing. That's why I own the Atari, is because I like looking back on kind of where we started.
Yeah. Yeah, speaking of history, one console that I do want to get eventually is the Magnavox Odyssey. Like that was like the first game console.
Yeah, oh yeah. That would be quite a console to have in your collection.
Yeah. Well, I guess since we're talking about like expensive stuff, what is your virtual gaming bucket list? Like if you could buy like little Samsung or something, like what would be your bucket list for virtual gaming? I guess.
I would love to have a Panasonic GameCube.
Yeah, me too. I mean, it's weird. Like it looks cool, but I'm
Yeah,
just assuming it's just a regular GameCube with a DVD player.
it is. Yeah, I'd come across 2 of them. One was in a price range I was willing to pay, but it was missing some stuff. And then I later on found out that the Panasonic GameCube is actually very finicky and it breaks very easy. And so, I mean, it'd have to be a really good price for me to go ahead and jump on one, just because, like I said, I talked to the store owner and they were explaining to me that they are one of the most finicky consoles in terms of like not working.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I've heard a lot. I've heard a lot about the Panasonic Q that it breaks down a lot. So
Yeah, I mean, I would, in terms of like bucket list, like at like a video game, I feel like I've been like kind of knocking them off recently, and so it's been hard to know exactly. I mean, it would be really cool to have Harvest Moon for the PlayStation 1. That one's kind of expensive now, just because I have a soft spot for the Harvest Moon series. I'm trying to think. Chrono Trigger for Super Nintendo. That would be awesome.
I guess one for me would be getting like a Sega Saturn and just getting like Panzer Dragoon Saga, Mr. Bones, and a bunch of different stuff like that. Because
Right.
I,
Yeah.
I I'm just looking at the Sega Saturn and it looks cool, but getting it is a whole different story. I mean, the console, yeah, at least for me, the console's not too bad. It's just the games that I want to get.
Yeah, I got the Sega Saturn somewhere in around 2016. I think I bought a bundle for like $80 maybe. It had a handful of games with it. My brother-in-law he's like, oh, we found my games, and he had Panzer Dragoon 1 and 2. So I traded him a Nintendo 64 and Mario Kart 64 for those 2 games.
Yeah, that's dope.
Yeah.
I guess a few more questions now. and I'm sorry if this interview has come out bad at all. Again, my apologies for anything.
Oh, you didn't do anything. You're good. It's my audio. I don't use Skype very often. I apologize.
It is what it is. But all right, I guess another question: what decade would you rather be rich in? The '90s, '80s, or 2000s?
Which one
Like
would I want to be what in?
rich.
Rich. Probably the 2000s because all of the games by then were like nobody wanted them.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I guess for me, like I would want to be rich in like the '90s because I mean, just seeing the transformation going from the Super Nintendo to the N64,
Yeah.
like it's weird. Like I was born in '97, but I'm just really interested when it comes to stuff in the '90s. I mean, there
Yeah.
there's like a bunch of stuff. I mean, the music, the games, the shows.
Yeah. I mean, like if we're talking about like if I could go back to, I would go back to the 90s. But if it was like you could be rich during that time, then it would have been the 2000s just because like I said, I've been a game hunter my entire life without knowing that's what it was called, and you used to be able to find games pretty cheap. So
Yeah, it's kind of weird. So I feel like ever since the like heritage auction, I feel like ever since the heritage auctions things with the Super Mario
yeah,
64, like you can't really go to like garages and stuff anymore.
right, because everyone thinks they have gold now, and they don't.
Yeah, I mean, well, my local Goodwill, my local Goodwill near me has always been bad, but now it's just sort of ridiculous. Like there's a Game Boy in there for like $70, and
That's
that's
insane.
yeah, that's ridiculous to me.
Yeah, my Goodwill has stopped putting games out completely, and they must be putting them on like auction sites or something because they have not had games out for months.
Oh no, Goodwill has their own official website now where they put up
Yeah,
games and stuff.
yeah,
It's it's ridiculous. I feel like Goodwill doesn't even have a point anymore because I mean the clothes and stuff are going up, the games are going up, all the electronics are going up. So I feel like there's really no point to Goodwill anymore.
right.
Uh, all right, man. I would just like to thank you for being here, and yeah, hope you enjoyed the interview.
Yeah, it was awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Guys, if you want to check out our channel, it's Samantha Azira. Link will be in the description. And yeah, is there anything else you want to say?
No, I appreciate it. I love talking about retro games. I'm ready for more videos to come out and more conversations to happen. And I appreciate anyone who gives my channel a watch.
Yeah, no problem. Well, if you guys want to like, subscribe, do whatever you want to do, no rush. And yeah, I guess have a nice day. Peace.
All right.